Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
Yeah, we're going to talk about beaches. We're going to talk about the dirty beaches these days. And the problem with the beaches at the moment is that people, for example, British Bay, I was in British Bay, which is near Mahamore. And British Bay was covered in rubbish. And there was loads and loads, thousands of people there. And what I noticed was the people were taking their rubbish with them. They were putting it into bags. But at the entrance, they were stacking the bags. And then what's happening is the seagulls, people think it's the people that are littering the beach. And some people do litter the beach, but the majority of people don't. The seagulls rip open the bags and they fly across the beach with the rubbish. And this is how the litter is actually getting on the beach.
I'm sure it is, because litter would want to be removed very soon after people have left the area. Normally they should be attended to at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and the bags taken away. That is what occurs in other countries, and in other countries where a lot of people are at the seaside, particularly in Spain, where I was for some years. And so there's litter bins, and they are collected. I mean, there's the same seagulls there as there is here, and other sort of ones the crows and that could attack these bags, which they do. And so anyone that's responsible for the council and these ones responsible for keeping the beaches right and clean, that's their responsibility, and they should have enough experience at this stage to know what to do. First of all, there should be litter bins supplied, as there is in other countries. I don't know why they're so, the councils and the government for that matter, are so reluctant to sort of develop facilities for the public to be able to use the beaches and other places, scenic places, where there's no such thing as bins supplied, and oftentimes people are instructed to bring their rubbish home. Now, that is something that would never be tolerated in a lot of European countries, that, as far as I'm concerned. It's an infringement on people's rights to be able to use the facilities of beaches without this business of being accused of being litter bugs, which is what they were doing, the media. Because if a story is 100% one way, and maybe 10%, 90% one way, and 10% another way, they concentrate on the 10%. They don't find fault with the councils and the people responsible for keeping these things in order for the people. So they have let the people down, and I think people would want to be a bit more demanding of the authorities to do their duty, provide refuse bins and skips and this, that and the other at beaches, so that people don't have to be penalised the way they are and abused. Because it's a form of abuse to accuse Irish people of being litter bugs, which they do.
Yes, the thing about it is, this you know the way you have these is a blue flag beaches, I think they're called.
That's right.
Okay, and all the counties compete. That's caused a lot of problems with councils. So some of the councils, what they're doing around Ireland is they're scraping the beach at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, scraping up the top level of the sand, right, where all the rubbish on it, to get their blue flag beach, and then they're digging a hole in the beach with the JCB and they're dumping the rubbish into it.
Well, that is absolutely dreadful.
Yeah,
it is practically an offence, nearly a criminal offence, because their duty is not, the beach should be kept free of rubbish. What is their problem with taking the rubbish and having facilities to deal with it? A recycling unit, because it can be used to produce heat, providing that they have the equipment and the modern stuff to deal with it, which other countries do.
Yeah. Well, I've got a very good solution for them, okay? My solution is filter the sand. So in other words, scrape the beach if you want, right? But make sure then that you have a filter which is the size of a room. You know, so that's the thing, like a mesh. You pour the sand on top of the mesh and then you shake it until you get all the sand to the bottom and then the rubbish goes to the top. Very simple idea, you know. And I think that would go a long way to solving the problem, and it means you keep the oceans clean as well.
Well, you see, heretofore they used to have sewage going into the sea.
But they still do.
Well, you see, that is a form of pollution. And there's no point in pontificating with green agendas and all the rest of it when the councils and these responsible for keeping things in order are not doing their duty. There's no sort of follow-up. And it's very easy to start blaming the public, but they're not supplying the facilities. You mentioned what you mentioned there, but I think you take examples from other countries that don't have this problem. And the reason is because they have refuse bins and facilities and staff whose responsibility is to keep those beaches clean, which they do. And thousands are using them. Thousands, far more than here, because of the tourists that go to that country and the fact that they have a summer that's blue skies all the time. You can get sick of all the blue skies. You think it's up a rain now and again. That was my experience when I was in Spain. You'd be just burned the whole time. You had to always wear some kind of a hat and all that type of thing. But swimming was something you did every day the week when you were retired, and we were retired, so we said the two of us had swims and that, but there was never such thing as pollution, and there was often a little kind of a restaurant on these places that you could have something to eat by way of coffee and ice cream and this, that and the other. They're more law-abiding or something than here, and provide the service for the public, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be getting tourists.
Now, the other thing that's happening as well is we were talking about the seagulls on the beach. The seagulls in the city, a lot of people forget that Dublin City is a seaside town. Okay?
That's right.
A lot of people forget that. So we have lots of seagulls, and that's normal, right? But the seagulls, the restaurants in the city centre, same problem, okay? They're dumping their rubbish outside in plastic bags at the back of the restaurant in the laneways. The seagulls are then opening up the bags and they're taking the rubbish into the city, onto the streets. That's part of the litter problem in Dublin that people are not talking about.
Correct.
So hopefully people watching this, somebody might make a few changes, voice the concerns, and hopefully we can things get better.
You have a situation where you have a seagull, too many seagulls, and normally they were kind of dealt with in such a way as their numbers was limited. Mm-hmm. Now, the animal rights crowd, who seem to be very fond of animals and not so much of humans, so they have all this business of seagulls to be protected, irrespective of the harm and damage that they're doing.
Yeah, which wrong.
They are. So there's always solution to problems, but if they're not implemented, this is what happens. The people that leave these plastic bags outside with this problem, they'd want to have something that would not be a plastic bag, that would have some kind of a container that with a lid on it that they could put the rubbish in, and then it would be collected. Yeah. There's always a solution, but it requires a little bit of an investment in that sort of thing, because if it happens once it's too much, but it's happening all the time. So between the lack of facilities in the cities by way of refuse bins as well, but seagulls and crows probably are responsible for this, because they do pocket bags, and especially in the summer. When it's but any time probably in the winter as well, and of course they're a scourge apparently because they're attacking people as well.
That's right.
And the same thing apparently is happening in England, and have the same problem with this animal rights crowd. So they should pass any remark on them. Just do what needs to be done to keep places clean.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver.